And there came a day unlike... Wait, no, that's been done. Who knows what evil lurks in... No, that is that other thing. What has yellow skin and rights? Ah, forget it. You're listening to Panelology. Excelsi, oh damn it.
Welcome to episode 237 of Panelology. I'm Alex.
And I am Brian.
Hey, Brian. How's it going?
It's going all right.
Brian is in a new recording setup or whatever, and there's this very, evil genius vibe. I think it's because I could see your hands at the bottom of the frame. Yeah. Like, you just need a fluffy white cat to pet through.
Oh, that would be
session.
Ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, except I don't allow my cat in my bedroom because, yeah.
Well, too bad if we ever start live streaming this, which, spoilers, never going to happen.
Yeah. Yes.
You are now contractually obligated to pet a cat through the entire...
That's fine. I will get I'll get a stuffed cat.
Okay.
like a stuffed animal, and yeah, we'll do that.
Not like a taxidermied cat, a stuffed animal.
Oh God, no.
Okay. We went a weird place already, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of been like that.
Yeah, it really has. Let's talk about comics. Let's just do it.
Let's do that.
Cut straight to the thing. And we're going to start with X-Men, because who knows how long we're going to talk about this.
Oh, what the hell, Opal Saturnine? What the hell?
So, there are
okay.
two...
I gotta, I started reading this, and at some point, I don't even know at what point during it, at some point, the only thing I could think of and could not get it out of my head was the old "whose line is it anyway" thing of the rules are made up where we go along and the points don't matter.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Good God.
We are in Ten of Swords. We are in the third week from the end. I guess 2 weeks from the end. Depends on whether you count the last week as a week or not.
Correct.
There are two weeks of books after the one we're discussing now.
2 weeks of Ten of Swords left, yes.
Yes. And we are into the actual competition, which clearly there are no rules for.
Whatever Saturnine makes up, because it's clearly not, what it was positioned to be as combat.
Yeah, this is definitely less feats of battle on the battlefield and more like, I don't know, who can fuck with the rules and each other the most.
Well, there's at least 3 of them where the person that wins the fight doesn't get the point.
Yeah. So let's jump into Marauders first.
Yeah.
We see the first battle between... Well, actually, we pick up where we left off last time after Wolverine tried to stab Saturnine.
Yes.
I picked up this issue, and I started to read it. I'm like, wait, this is all in a recap page? Okay, clearly I'm reading these out of order. Well, no, the last issue said to read this one next. Let me check the last page of this. Nope, it says this one's next. The cover says this is part 14. Okay.
I loved the whole, because all of the X books, right? What they've done is they've had a page with a little bit of recap, and then they do a little square that has the characters that are going to be in the book.
Yeah.
Right. And this one, just like that, it does it. It's got a nice long recap, and then the character's Wolverine. That's it.
But the recap in this case is an entire block of text that is stuff we haven't seen happen involving Otherworld falling to the forces of Arakko because there's no tournament because Wolverine stabbed Saturnine, and now everyone has invaded Earth and defeated the Avengers, and oops, the end, it's over. Here's Wolverine hanging on a cross.
Yeah, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and Thor are all dead.
Yeah. And it is, of course, an X-shaped cross.
And basically the only person left alive is Logan.
Yeah. And then we learn it was all a dream, or a vision put in Wolverine's head by Saturnine as he tried to stab her, to show him, maybe you shouldn't stab me, bro.
Yeah, like, I've given you a gift. If you had done that, this is what would happen.
Yeah. So somehow whatever, and here's this, I feel like this is important because why would Saturnine drive this point home that it's important that you compete if, as much as she is fucking with Krakoa, she's not somehow trying to protect them. Like, I guess you could argue there's a self-interest otherworld angle, but if they lose, Arakko and Amenth are still going to eventually encroach on and consume Otherworld.
Yeah, but especially with the way that these different competitions are set up, and we're going to obviously go through them. And the points are being, and all of there's definitely, she's got some other scheme in mind, and I think it has to do very specifically with what these contests are choosing to do with each of these people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one of them leads into that theory much more heavily than, or more obviously than the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also poor Logan, he done fucked up. For so many reasons, he done fucked up. That's the theme this week is, Logan, my boy, you done fucked up. Immediately after his vision, Doug starts, like, foaming at the mouth because Death tried to poison Wolverine, and Doug ate his sushi War tried to poison Wolverine. Doug ate it, so Doug starts to die. The White Sword saves him, and Captain Avalon goes to Saturn and is like, they cheated. You could just call this off in our favor. And she's like, well, I would, but your boy tried to stab me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You done fucked up, Logan.
Yeah. Okay, so, like, going back through these now, after having read all of them, I do actually have a bit of a theory forming, shall we say?
Yeah.
I think Doug is actually going to be the key to all of this.
I mean, I feel like that got set up pretty well back in the New Mutants issue where he was training.
Agreed, but specifically here, right? Because we have him getting poisoned.
Uh-huh.
And saved by the White Sword. But specifically, the White Sword says, and I release you of all obligation, which, we find out later has never happened. He's never resurrected or saved anybody and not called them into his service, right?
Yeah, to serve in his army.
To serve in his army, right. So we have that. And then, we have more that, we have Iska, right, who gives him basically a quick tracheotomy.
Yeah.
To keep him alive, right? So there's literally, he's becoming involved very quickly with everybody.
Yeah. And in a moment we'll get into another way that he gets involved even more.
Yeah.
But no, I think you're right. I feel like, and that's the thing, right? Like, he speaks to and he speaks for Krakoa. And what maybe feels less urgent as part of Ten of Swords, but is a big part of all the build-up to it, is Krakoa wants to be reunited with Arakko and vice versa.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so we got my quote of the week.
Brian's quote of the week. What quote?
So, like I said, we have this, War has poisoned Doug, so essentially, tried to kill him.
I love that sentence, by the way. War has poisoned Doug.
Yeah. And we have Iska, who literally stabs him in the throat with a knife, right? And then we have all of them, like, basically picking fights and all this, right? This whole thing going on. And then we get sitting at the table, Apocalypse and Genesis, and Apocalypse looks over and he goes, I see you did well with the children. I did my best.
Yes.
Yes.
That was an excellent moment.
I love it. I love it.
Then we get our first fight.
Which...
So, Brian, if you were, like, say, baseball players or professional wrestlers, picking music for each of these combatants to walk out onto the battlefield to, what would you pick for each of them?
Oh God, man, I don't even know what to say.
I'm asking this question because I have a clear answer for Betsy.
I mean, obviously, inspiration did strike you. I do want to point out super quick before we do that though, the last part of this party, which I absolutely adored, was Magic and Cable testing Iska's ability to not win.
Yes.
By like having like this glass stacking contest, like all these stupid little party things, right? Or like find the pencil under the cup or whatever it is.
What number am I thinking of? You're not thinking of a number. She's good.
Yeah, like yes, it's just beautiful. I love it. Okay, sorry. Yeah, and then we do get our first contest, which is Iska against Betsy Braddock, Captain Britt. I don't know, Betsy. I mean, there's some obvious, like you can think like London Calling, right? That would be a good.
No, the answer is I Go to Pieces.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Wow. Yeah. That'll do it.
Yeah. My only other answer that I actually have prepared is for the White Sword. He should walk out to Tub Thumping because his whole army, they get knocked down, but they get up again.
Yeah,
You're never going to keep them down.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Betsy looks like she's going to do okay at first.
She's holding her own. Yeah.
I appreciate the crowd shots of everybody like cheering for their teams.
Yep.
Which is maybe a little morbid, but like, I get it. I get where they're at.
And I love Logan's comment to Apocalypse. Like, they're all cheering for Betsy, right? And like Brian's like, she's got this in the bag, and Apocalypse is like, this is going to require some cleverness from her. While I've come to trust the heart and passion of the young, Iska's had the benefit of time. Her skills are honed by centuries. And Wolverine just looks at him and goes, yeah. Just holler for your lady.
I identified so much with Apocalypse in that moment.
Just shut up and cheer for your side. Right.
And then she goes to block a swing from Iska.
Yep.
And the Starlight Sword begins to shatter, and then so too does Betsy.
Yeah, she literally shatters like stained glass. Yeah.
Like, I figure like this was maybe the moment where I was like, okay, no, Saturnine is up to something, because immediately Saturnine comes out and collects the pieces. I'm like, we don't know that Betsy's dead. She could be put back together again. If they get all the king's horses and all the king's men, they could do it.
I don't know. The king is Jamie, and I don't know that I'd trust that.
I don't know. He's wearing a really rad cape.
Well, we do find out later he did bet against his own sister, so.
Well, yes, but
I love the reasoning behind that, too.
There was actually a recent episode of Judge John Hodgman in which someone wrote in to settle an argument with someone else about whether it was in poor taste to wager that a particularly terrible candidate would win the presidential election, so that at least if they won, this person would stand to gain something from it. I was reading this, I'm like, where have I heard this argument recently? It's like, oh, right.
Yeah, because that's his logic is, well, at least if she loses, I'll win some money.
Yeah. I won't have to mourn my sister and lose my money.
Right. Exactly. Like, God, wow.
He really does wear Sinister's cape well. I just can't get over that. Sorry. And that takes us to challenge number 2 and Excalibur number 14.
I like how you've changed them from fights to challenges now.
Well, I mean, as the rules change, I guess so too must the ways in which we describe these events. Because this is not what one would traditionally, perhaps, unless one is a shitty comedian in the late 80s, early 90s, consider a fight.
I was gonna say, unless you call it a lifelong fight, right? That would be, which would be the shitty 80s comedian way of saying it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Doug is up next, along with what is his
Bay the
counterparts? That's it. Yes, Bay the Blood Moon.
Yes,
and I love the dynamic.
Or as I call it, Araco Black Bolt. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the dynamic that is set up between them.
Yes.
Where conceptually Bay doesn't speak in words so much as by projecting the meaning of what she says into those around her.
Yes.
Therefore, there is nothing for Doug to translate.
Yeah, so we get this explanation about her, where basically her mutant ability, like she was raised as we find out, she was raised as a warrior. Surprise, surprise, Morocco. But like she, for the first 50 years of her life, she never spoke. When she did speak the first time, it destroyed a mountain. Hence the Black Bolt reference. Yes.
Yes.
And her power has come to be called the Doom Note, right? And we find out that the Doom Note wants to be understood, right? But the way that happens is she doesn't actually speak a language of any kind. She just, like you said, projects her power, and because it wants to be understood, people understand the meaning that she has from it.
Unless that person is Cypher, who, because there is no language there, cannot translate it.
Correct.
So he is immediately, drawn to her and fascinated by her because he's never had to work to understand someone.
Yeah.
Which is good news because their challenge is marriage.
Yeah, they, yep, congratulations. Doug got married.
Which, one of the best moments in this is he gives his, I've just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so I guess. And then she gives these, really nice vows that are...
She does.
Sincere and, I will fight for you, I will fight to protect you, yada, yada, yada. And was it Wolverine or Apocalypse who's like, oh, you should say yes?
It's Apocalypse. He's like, yeah, so, hers is like, love is a fealty that cannot be broken. I will love you with the force of the wave that crashes the shore and fight for you like the current that swallows the sand. And Doug looks over and he's like, you guys can understand her, yeah? And Apocalypse goes, they are good vows, Douglas. You should accept them. Yes.
And then the wedding crashers arrive.
Well, then she pulls back her veil and Doug, which is the first time we've seen her face.
Right.
And Doug is now all the more fascinated by her. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then the wedding crashers arrive.
The wedding crashers were introduced in Marauders 25. Betsy had telepathically signaled to Jubilee, who was still hanging out with the green priestesses and tending to Shogo the dragon, to let her know that there was a fight coming, yada, 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 just checking in, whatever you do, don't come here. So when Betsy stopped reporting in, Jubilee hopped on Shogo and flew over and started burninating the place.
Yeah, so a couple things here. So, I very much got the impression when Betsy reached out to her, it was knowing she was getting ready to go into battle, and if she didn't live, she wanted to say bye. Have a last conversation, right? Well, when Jubilee knew that the fight was going to happen and then didn't hear from Betsy anymore after that, yeah, that's when she kind of lost it and picked up Shogo, and they came. So this is the point where, so the wedding, right, is where I was like, okay, something else is happening here with these challenges.
Yes.
And then specifically in this scene with Shogo is where I went, okay, Saturnine has some very much deeper plan that she is planning.
Yeah.
Because this is very clearly part of it.
Saturnine's response is basically to let Storm handle Jubilee.
Yep.
And to ensorcel Shogo.
Yep.
Essentially.
Yes.
And like let him be her domestic pet dragon that's hanging out.
Yeah, and clearly having a dragon that can burn reality is part of her plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like how she takes the dragon fire that he breathes and turns it into fireworks for the wedding.
Yes.
Oh, we should point out that while the dragon's attacking and this whole thing is going on.
Oh, I was about to.
Yeah. Doug and Bay are just kissing.
Yeah. They basically look up and give a, oh, did we miss something?
Hey, there's a reason why number one rule for both of them is make more mutants.
I love that, like, the chapters leading up to the competition are pretty focused and serious.
Yes.
And then these actual competition chapters are kind of goofy.
Can I say that the wedding is not the most unusual competition we get either?
Are you saying, Brian, that it's not unusual to be loved by you?
God. Oh, God, I simultaneously love and hate that.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
What is our next challenge?
Oh, boy, let's see. So at this point, it's Arako 2 and Krakoa 1, because Arako basically, obviously, Iska won against Betsy, right?
Yep.
We should keep that tab running.
And Doug
and then
Bay
the wedding
got a
counted
point.
as a point for both of them. They both won. Yeah. Certainly Bay and Doug would think they both won.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so that was, now we move to Wolverine.
Was there not a second challenge in Excalibur?
No, the two were, the first fight is in Excalibur. It's Betsy and...
Okay, yeah. That's right, that's right.
Yes.
I read these all in one big chunk.
Yeah, so I mean, I did too. I read them back to back. So
they've bled a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, the next challenge is Wolverine and the Summoner, who are fighting in Blightspoke.
Yep.
Right?
Which I love Blightspoke. This is such a cool place.
Yeah, and isn't this where the Marshal is from?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because like it talks about how nobody can survive here, blah, 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 but like her and her posse somehow find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important to note, this is specifically a fight to the death.
Yeah, the rules of this is it's a fight to the death. This is very much like the Marvel dark multiverse feel, right?
Yeah,
like where realities go to die is how they describe it.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting not only against each other but also against Blightspoke itself, right? And they go through all of this, and eventually, Wolverine gets to a point and stabs Summoner through the head with his Muramasa sword, and Summoner dies.
And because it was a fight to the death, point goes to Summoner for dying.
Yeah. Yeah, because we hear her. I said this was a fight to the death. Summoner fought to the death. He's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Yep. So Arako gets the point, 4-1 now. Yeah. Then we get our next challenge. And, okay, by the way, that was, if you had any doubt at all that something weird was going on and that this was, like, fixed in a way, like, that one takes away all doubt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to mention, just the art, especially in that sequence, is gorgeous.
It is. I meant to point out in the Excalibur book, which is the one where Doug gets married, I was super happy that wedding was done in that book so Phil Noto could draw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was like he was perfect for drawing all of that.
Oh,
yes.
we did skip one contest, which is Pog or Pog versus Magic. I can't believe you skipped the best matchup.
Wait, where was that? Did I miss that one already?
That's that's before the title page in Wolverine. It's the first 4 pages of Wolverine.
Oh, I stopped. That's what it is. I stopped going back at that point. I didn't go back far enough to see it.
Yep.
Okay.
You gotta go back, Marty.
You gotta go back. Yeah. So yeah, that's right. Magic walks into Roma Regina, where everything turns upside down, and is gonna fight Pog or Pog, and literally gets ready to stab him, and you give her at least even odds in this fight, right? Matter of fact, if we look at the odds page that we got at some point, I think she actually has better than even odds against Pog, maybe. Because we did get that. We did get an odds page for each one of them surviving. Doug's was like 5,000 to 1. Really bad. But then Saturnine summons away both of their weapons, and then they do a arm wrestling bit, and Magic versus Pog and just arm wrestling, that was not nearly so much of a contest as just Pog winning.
Yeah, like there's a basic physics issue here when one arm of Pog is the size of Magic.
Yes, correct. Yeah, like looking at them is bigger than her. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's a Rocco 3, Krakoa 1. Great.
Yes.
Then we get the Blightspoke fight between Summoner and Wolverine.
Which, shout out to Joshua Cassara and Guru EFX for... I mean, this whole book is gorgeous, but this sequence in particular...
Yeah.
There's a page where, like, they clash swords and reality shatters and fractures and reforms and, like, the art styles change multiple times across the page. And...
Yeah, you're talking about the one with, like, the... Like the web kind of looking thing, and okay, there's that one.
But then the next page after the Battle of Blightspoke text page is...
Yes, that's the one I'm looking at, where literally it's like this web fractured thing, and every one of them is in kind of a different art style.
Yeah, bonus points to the one that has a literal Wolverine fighting a snake.
Yes, correct. The other one that I like is the Tron version of everybody.
Yep.
We get a
chess pieces on a table.
Yeah, we get chess pieces. We get like like cardboard versions of them fighting each other. We get like super representational cave art.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But like every one of these is super, super different. It's super cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
but Wolverine wins the fight and loses the point.
Yep.
So now we're a Rocco 4, Krakoa 1.
And then we learned something that we did not know and that maybe nobody knew going in. If the cards revealed two members of the same side, they still end up in contest with each other.
Yes. Because Wolverine and Storm come up as the next two that have to fight. And I guess, fortunately, their fight is not to the death, but it's a drinking contest.
Yep.
Because of course it is.
And they get a little flirty, which is always welcome.
I'm telling you what, if Ten of Swords has taught us anything, it's just exactly how horned all these mutants are.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. And I'm not like
maybe
a big...
that's the message we're supposed to learn all along.
The real friends were the mutants you boned along the way. I'm not a big, like, shipper, but there is a part of me that is always a little bit like, yeah, Storm and Wolverine do work so well together.
Like, here's the thing, I really think those two understand each other very well.
Well, and I can tell you exactly what has seeded that thought pattern in my brain. It's the X-Men animated series episode, One Man's Worth, which I learned recently. I always thought that was based on Age of Apocalypse. Age of Apocalypse is based on that.
Okay.
But it's this, like, alternate timeline where Xavier was killed and Wolverine and Storm are married in that timeline. And, like, they end up sacrificing, like, knowingly sacrificing this world where they're together to restore the timeline to what it should be. But that's what it all traces back to. I can guarantee it.
Okay. But yeah, they're in the crooked alley and having this drinking contest for which Jasper is pouring the drink.
Yep.
And there's very clearly something up with this drink, whatever it is.
And we learn what in a moment.
Yeah. Because Logan's getting messed up.
Yeah.
Right? And so as they're drinking, Jasper ends up leaving the bar and going, and we see him meeting War. And War hands him a scarab, which clearly is payment for him serving this alcohol to them.
Yeah. War, who we've already learned is a poisoner.
Nope, that was War.
You just said War.
No, this was this was Death. I'm sorry. It's Death that gives him this. Death giving the scarab is clearly
gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry. I did say this time I said the wrong one. How about that?
We take turns.
There we go.
It's fun that way.
But the good news is, because one of them won, Krakoa gets a point.
Yay!
So now it's only 4-2.
Then we learn what the deal Wolverine made with Solemn was back in the last issue of Wolverine.
Right,
to get Muramasa.
When Solemn gave him the Muramasa sword, yes.
Yeah. And what did Wolverine promise Solemn?
Solemn basically told him, at some point, I'm going to call you to fight a battle for me.
And this is that battle?
And this is that battle.
It is... Who is Solemn fighting here?
Solemn is fighting War. And this, I am
right.
getting the name right this time. It is
Yes.
War. Yes. Solemn. So clearly 2 Arakko names came up, right?
Yep.
And Solemn is fighting War.
You might say Wolverine's between a Rocco and a hard place.
I don't know. It depends on how excited Summoner or Solemn is.
You've met Solemn.
Fair enough. Fair enough, sir. So yeah. I guess it's kind of important to point out we are at this point cutting back and forth panels between Logan and Storm, right, getting drunk together, and this battle about to start between Solemn and War.
Yeah.
And Logan looks at Storm and goes, "You're drunk." And she's like, "No, you're drunk." And Wolverine goes, "I won." And Storm goes, "No, I won." Wolverine goes, "Maybe we won," as they lean forward to kiss each other.
And
then Logan disappears.
Yep.
Because he has been summoned by Solemn to fight this fight for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Wolverine realizes, wait, I'm drunk. That means my healing factor isn't working.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, no. Because, it turns out that's what that alcohol does, is turn off his healing factor.
Yeah. And the challenge for this fight is not a fight to the death. It's the first person to remove an appendage from their opponent wins.
Turns out you don't want to fight Wolverine even if he's drunk and doesn't have his healing factor.
No.
Because he's still a badass.
The good news is Wolverine wins. The bad news is Solemn gets the point, so...
Because it's Solemn's fight.
Yep.
Yeah, this is when it's like, this is where we're like, the rules are made up and the points don't matter, except maybe they do.
Yeah.
But how you get the points clearly is kind of arbitrary a bit. So, yeah. So now it's Arakko 5 and Krakoa 2, and that's where we've ended for this week.
Yep. So we have next week X-Force 14, Hellion 6, which I am so curious to see how they fit back into this.
Yeah.
And Cable 6.
Yeah.
Then the following week are the last 3 chapters.
Yeah, X-Men and Excalibur again, and then Ten of Swords Destruction. Yeah. So yeah, clearly when they were setting this up, I mean, I fully 100% bought into it, right?
Yeah.
You got this impression that they were going to be paired off kind of 1-to-1, right? And each person was going to have to fight a battle against someone from the other side.
Yeah.
And then potentially, like maybe not the winners of that would face off against the winners of the other side until there was no one left on one side, maybe?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I was picturing it.
Or just whoever had the most team members left standing.
Yeah, or whoever won the most battles in one pass, maybe. Something like that, right? Clearly, that was all not right because
Yeah.
we got teams fighting each other. We got points being awarded for marriages. We got, I don't know. I still love it though. I'm still absolutely digging this.
Yeah, I just don't know what the fuck is going on now.
I don't either. But it makes me wonder, like, there's some people that we haven't even seen fight that, like, at this point, I'm not even sure we're ever going to.
Yeah, I mean, we still haven't answered the question. I know you know, but we still haven't answered the question, who is the 10th member of Krakoa's team?
Correct.
That has not come into play here yet.
By the way, you are going to be absolutely delighted.
Well, that narrows the field quite a bit.
I will, you know what? I will actually, I will, and I even know what the reward's going to be. I'm not going to tell you what it is though. I will get you something if you can guess who it is.
I mean, you just said I would be delighted, which does make me think Nightcrawler. Like, short list of X-Men characters who would delight me joining this battle. Nightcrawler, Laura Kinney, God, let's see Charles Xavier have to pick up a sword his damn self. Like, let him lift a finger.
Okay, I don't have to get you anything because you're wrong on all this.
Okay,
yeah.
That's fine. I look forward to being surprised.
Yeah.
Do you have any clue where this goes next?
No, and that's part of what absolutely delights me.
And like, I as much as House of X, Powers of 10, the first half of 10 of Swords, as much as those books have all like planted seeds and played with ideas and like we talked about last week with the history of Arakko, like all the pieces pretty much were there just in different orders,
right.
And you could kind of piece together. I don't feel like we have those breadcrumbs right now, or if we do, I'm missing them.
Here's the thing. I think we do in the sense of we're seeing the pieces be put into place.
But not in a predictable, not in any way where we could like reasonably predict, here's what happens next.
Correct. By the way, I should point out that the reason Wolverine was able to win is War was attempting to chop off his head with her sword and hit his adamantium spine, which stopped his head from being severed off. And that's when he cut off her hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I just got the point to your point of, we don't see the pieces. Like, Saturnine is literally sitting on Shogo while watching this fight, and like I said, very clearly that is part of one of the pieces being set in place to me. I just don't know what it means. Right.
One thing I am curious about, the predictions back in Stasis, the tarot cards for each of the members of Krakoa's team. So for Betsy, we saw her being pierced by multiple swords. Doug was him standing with someone else who realistically at this point is Bay, like each holding a goblet of wine or something. We still don't know anything about what's up with Gorgon, right? He had the card that was just blank.
Correct.
And we haven't seen him fight yet.
Maybe that means he doesn't fight.
Yeah. Maybe he's just mascot.
Right, like now that we know that maybe that's the whole thing is he doesn't fight, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't seen Brian fight yet. He was the Knight of Pentacles. The card there is like him riding a griffin holding a sword up. Magic, we've seen arm wrestle, but we haven't seen anything that makes sense with the card she pulled that's like her like thrusting her sword into the ground and energy coming out of it. We still haven't seen Cable fight. Wolverine's card was Strength, and that is him in this kind of like broken world with Summoner holding him in a headlock.
Yep. Obviously, we did see that.
We've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And Storm was her riding a horse with an army behind her.
Death. Right.
Death. So we still haven't seen...
There's a thought. What if Storm somehow inherits the white sword?
That would be interesting. Like, I think a lot of people, just based on chatter online, have sort of expected her to, like, pick up Annihilation's helm, but that may make more sense.
Right, because then literally she has this army of that she resurrects from the dead constantly to fight for her.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that thought.
All right. That's all I got for X-Men. Anything else from you?
Wow, that took some time, but well worth it. Because damn, again, I'm like, I don't know where I could make no prediction. This is bouncing around in so many, but I love every single moment of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Champions number 2 and Miss Marvel number 16, starting with Champions.
All right, so yeah, this picks up very clearly from where this first one left off, which is, you know, this meeting that they had kind of broke up, and we see that there's a lot of well, I guess firstly I should say we see what happened to Snowguard and some of the others that were caught.
Which, I will say this very clearly, this issue has to be set after what's going on in Miles Morales right now.
Okay.
Because both Bombshell and Starling were in the last issue of Miles.
Okay.
And we see them held here too.
But yeah, they are in what is essentially a re-education center.
Yeah.
That doesn't conjure up any horrific thoughts at all.
I mean, they out and out make some comparisons to like real world re-education camps.
Yes. Yeah.
Concentration camps, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then we see that in Chicago there's essentially this massive protests by teens against, you know, Kamala's law, you know, about, and they're like, you know, no, we support our team here as blah blah blah. And then we get, of course, somebody speaking out for the other side saying, you don't represent all of us, and some of us teens are scared by, you know, these people with superpowers and blah blah blah.
I really need to know, I mean, I don't need to know. I wonder how much of this issue was written or even rewritten during the hiatus and in response to the Black Lives Matter protests?
That's a good question. I mean,
because
yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's anything new. If it was written before, then it's just incredibly timely and the foresight is uncanny. If it's written after, like, I think it's doing a smart job of picking up ideas like you have a movement that is protesting for rights, and the way bad actors come in parallel with or in tandem with authoritarian agents as an excuse to crack down on protesters.
Yes.
As an excuse to escalate. And like, so much of that happening during the Black Lives Matter protests, and then seeing it again here. Like, one, this is maybe the first issue of this where, like, the concept of Outlawed has really clicked into place for me. Like, I think either way, whether this was always the plan or this was rewritten.
Here's the thing. I think enough protests and movements like this have happened even before, you know, the recent Black Lives Matter stuff from earlier this year, that this very likely was in concept like this before that.
And I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
It's in either case, I think it is doing something that is more subtle and more grounded in the real world, and doing it more successfully, for me at least.
Yes.
Than a lot of like Civil War or other hero versus hero comics have done. I mean, it feels like about half this issue is just the protest, and maybe a third of the issue is the protest and characters like we've never seen before who are just the speakers at the protest speaking. And it was not until Miss Marvel and Nova and Spider-Man like showed up on a rooftop nearby that I even realized, oh right, we haven't actually seen any of the core Champions team in this Champion book yet.
Right.
I think it worked really well for me.
Yeah, and Nova can't wait. He just jumps down because people are starting to get hurt.
Yeah.
And of course Cradle is there, so, you know, that goes poorly.
They claim jurisdiction and start rounding up the protesters who are against Cradle and Kamala's law. And meanwhile, they've tried to call in Riri because it's her hometown and she might have insight in how to handle it. And she's not picking up.
Correct. She's laying on a couch in depression, essentially.
Yeah.
And we find out why. Can I point out that I am now super happy that I know that canonically there about this cereal that exists in the Marvel Universe.
Yes, please. What is this cereal?
Well, it's new flavor hammered Thoreos.
I want to know, like, I need a one-shot. I might need a miniseries or an ongoing. I need a book that's like Damage Control, I guess, but for the marketing teams that try to work with and license the Avengers for products. Like, can you imagine a book that is just Captain America stuck at a conference table while people are pitching him on, I don't know, Captain America shield-shaped sleds and things like that? Like, this footage of you sliding down this snowy bank on your shield went viral. We want to market these to children. And Cap's like, no, they'll get hurt. You can't do that. But we've already made 20,000 of them. The Avengers will buy them off of you. Good day, sir.
Yeah.
TM. Marvel, call us.
But, yeah, so then these three, Miles and Kamala and Sam, show up at Riri's house since she didn't respond.
Yeah.
And Sam proceeds to completely misinterpret why she's depressed.
Yes.
You know, basically, yeah, fine, you didn't respond. If you don't want to be Ironheart anymore, just say so and let us all get over it and move on.
Well, and to him, it's about, she was already established as this brilliant scientist before she was Ironheart, so she can be other things.
Right, like, yes.
But he doesn't know who he is without being Nova.
Correct.
Which honestly sounds a little bit more like a problem for him.
Yeah, clearly, yeah. That was very clearly projection, right?
Yeah.
And that maybe he wishes he had something else he could be.
Yeah.
Some other thing to define him. But
work-life balance is important, kids.
Hey. Turns out that they kind of led Cradle to her house.
Yeah.
And so, like, you see her suit up in Ironheart, and they're like, wait, you were wearing the gauntlet all along? She was like, yeah. Didn't want to be Ironheart anymore. What are you, stupid?
Yeah.
But, yeah, turns out that what she was worried about was the fact that she didn't have a secret identity. Everybody knows who she is.
Yeah.
And therefore, because of this law, even though she essentially has a mentor, so she could remain and keep being Ironheart because she has Tony.
Yeah.
That, you know, she is super afraid of the blowback on her family.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
That's why she's depressed, but not because she doesn't want to be Ironheart anymore, but because she can't be.
Because she's read a Spider-Man comic and knows how that goes.
Yeah. If not, pick up this week's, because holy shit.
This team has made enough deals with Mephisto already.
Yes. But of course we get another thing of, what I guess it's Miles who says something about, there's a lot of Cradle people out there, and Miles just says, maybe we should just go with them and give up, right? And we see Viv kind of watching them, right? And saying, yes, please just stop fighting them, because, we learned last issue that Viv is the one who is turning them in.
Yeah.
Because...
And I think I guessed then, like, maybe there's still that doppelganger of Viv, the Viv 2.0 running around in some way, but I think this is just she feels guilty about her role in everything.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, and she literally just wants them all stopped so they can't get hurt.
Yeah.
I literally think that's what this is.
Yeah.
But at some point she'll realize that's not her choice to make, maybe.
I'm guessing next issue based on the cover.
Yeah. But there we go. That's pretty much it.
I'm not going to hit Magnificent Miss Marvel too hard.
Yeah.
But we learn a couple of things here that answer some questions I had. First off, why does Kamala not just say, no, I'm Miss Marvel, I do not support this law. And it's because her parents don't want her to go on the record because they don't want to bring down any more attention on her than is already there. They know that it would be risky and dangerous for her to speak out against the law. And one of the things...
I don't know how true that rings, though.
Well, one of the things the issue does very well. And this comes from having a Muslim person writing the book, is talking about how for Kamala's whole life she kind of feels like there's been a target on her just for who she was born, and that target feels bigger and bigger and bigger all the time.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. And it's super easy to forget that even though these people are superheroes and they do these amazing things and they do what's right, they are still teenagers and therefore tend to doubt the decisions that they make a lot.
Right. And she is a Muslim person in America. So there is racist attention on her too. Like there is all kinds of xenophobia working against her.
There's a whole lot of natural insecurity that comes with being a teenager, though.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it's both for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not just one or just the other.
Correct.
But then we see her go to the juice bar where she's been hanging out at, and Cradle comes in looking for Amulet, who is a new character who was introduced a few issues ago, who is a Muslim kid from Dearborn, Michigan, who we learn in this issue kind of what his thing is. He comes from a family of demon hunters. His grandmother trained him, and she hunted demons before, hunting these, 1,000 relics with different ghouls in them. And, one pops up. So he's like, nah, my cousin actually runs this place. They got this under control. Why don't you come help me take care of this ghoul? And, it's a team-up issue after that. It's a really nice change of pace from some of the Cradle stuff that's going on. And then at the end, someone tries to tip off Cradle that they know where they can catch Miss Marvel.
I do want to say one thing, and that is probably the cringiest thing about this whole thing is the fact that this organization is called Cradle.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that.
In a way, I absolutely hate it, and I think you're supposed to, right? In a this is the kind of stupid fascist shit that would be
that's
done
very fair.
In the real world.
Yeah.
Is being done. I'm so sad that Saladin Ahmed is leaving this book soon, but I love the statement he made about how no, that's part of the joy of the thing is finishing and getting to see who does what with it next.
Yeah.
So, I'm still loving this book. Let's talk Amazing Spider-Man 52 and 52.LR.
Man, yeah, let's snap to it.
We're going to talk about them together because, gun to my head, I could not tell you what happens in which.
Well, I'm thinking you can probably guess what happens at the end of Spider-Man.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We have Thanos has his snap, and Kindred has his.
I was gonna say I can tell you what happens at the end of Spider-Man. You know, the end of Spider-Man.
Yeah. Spidey gotta quit making deals with the devil.
Yeah, he does. How hurtful was it to see? I mean, we knew what Kindred had done, right?
Yeah.
And gathering all of these skeletal remains of these people, but damn, to have them paraded and
to make your very own Spider-Man's Last Supper.
Oh, what an ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can I tell you who I'm most proud of in this book? This one?
I feel like Norman Osborn is the thing that's going to come out of your mouth, and I'm a little terrified to hear those words.
No, actually, it's not this book. It's LR. So we're talking about it together. You're very close though. No, it's Mary Jane.
That's fair.
And her reaction to waking up and being with Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
Yes. And what's her name? Ashley Kafka comes in and I've studied people that Sin Eater has cleansed, and they are different people. And she's like, I know you're a respected psychologist, and so I respect your opinion and all that, but I don't fucking care. It's Norman Osborn, and I will never trust him.
Which is, I think, a reasonable response.
Good on you, Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kafka, we also see Sin Eater's plan moving forward, which is transforming some of his acolytes into giant bugs.
okay, I do want to, because I was a little unclear about this. Are they bugs or are they spiders?
Spiders are bugs. Spiders are not insects.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, okay, and they definitely are spiders. You can look at them and see now.
Yeah, they are spiders. It's the same chemical that was used back in Dan Slott's Spider Island story.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And that also makes sense because of who we see on the next page, which is we find out what happened to Morlun after all this time.
Yes, because the Sin Eater's big plan here, to prove himself to God or kindred, or maybe he thinks they're the same, I'm really not sure at this point.
Yeah.
Is to cleanse Morlun of his sins.
Yes.
And also thereby absorb his powers.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. They're really putting Spidey and friends through the ringer here, huh?
Yeah, so the good news is, because Spidey made this deal with Kindred, the other Spider folk are no longer, like, possessed and, like, killing people.
And now they're teaming up with Doctor Strange.
And Black Cat.
And Black Cat.
Yes.
The bad news, however,
is
Peter's dead.
Yeah, so that, we talked about that. So that happened at the end of the Spider-Man, and yeah, so the deal that he made was essentially, yeah, you know what? I don't care, kill me, but leave them alone. They didn't do this. He's like, okay, deal, and frees them, and snaps Peter's neck.
Yeah, I've got to imagine he'll get better.
I mean, you would think Marvel's not going to do that to Spider-Man for forever, but you know.
Yeah. That's what the Ultimate Universe was for.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, yeah, they agree to, the Spider folk are going to go with Doctor Strange to track down Peter. And Black Cat's going to stay behind and guard the hand of Vishanti so it doesn't get stolen again.
Because who better to keep it safe than the last person who stole it?
She turns and looks at it and says, it is a really nice piece.
Yeah.
So what's up with that last page, though?
Of 52 or 50, I guess 52.LR?
Yeah. So we find out that they are essentially in the astral plane, Steven and all the spider folk. And, you know, he says something about, you know, there's a lot of dangers here on a good day, and this is not a good day. And we see some glowy eye, clearly not nice form of Mary Jane watching them.
Are we sure it's Mary Jane?
No, but it looks like her.
It does, but, like, are there any other redheads in Peter Parker's life? I don't think there are.
Yeah, I don't know who else it would be.
I tell you what, though, if this book finally answers the question of what happened at the end of the cliffhanger in the Spider-Man animated series from the early 90s, it will be my new favorite Spider-Man run. If that's what this is doing, bring it on.
Bring it on. All right.
There's no way that's what this is doing.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
Marvel Action Chillers. I'm going to be super quick here. This is from IDW, who publishes the Marvel Action line, which is an all-ages comic line. Written by friend of the show, Jeremy Whitley, with art from Seth Smith, Gretel Lusky, Derek Charm, and Nahuel Ruiz. And this is framed by Riri Williams coming in for an appointment with Tony to find his tower, or his lab and his tower trashed, and a becaped figure looking around, whom she greets, "Hey Dracula, where is my mentor and what have you?" At which point Stephen Strange stops the bullets or whatever and says, "If I were Dracula, I assure you that smoke grenades and flashbangs would do nothing to harm me." Riri Williams and Stephen Strange team up to figure out what's gone wrong. Brian, would you like to guess what dumb thing Tony has done that has led to his disappearance and his lab being wrecked?
A dumb thing that Tony has done?
Hint, it's one I might do.
Did he read from the book?
He read from the book!
Thank you. Okay, now do you believe us?
No.
God.
Because this is the book of Shuma Gorath. I'm really talking about the Necronomicon normally. Two totally different books. So the book has left pages for Stephen to find. Stephen knew the book was there, had told Tony, whatever you do, don't open or read or interact with the book. I'm on my way. Tony had to try to figure out what was up with it. So the middle portion of this book is the book telling Stephen and Riri the story of what happened. And they go off to try to track Tony, who is trapped in his armor, which the book controls, and is stuck, like, watching as the book through the armor tries to open up a portal to bring Shumagorath to Earth. And setting up the next issue, on his trail, Riri finds the clawed-up helmet of Captain America and Captain America's shield. The cover for the next issue is a teenaged Elsa Bloodstone. You know what we're getting next. Elsa Bloodstone versus Capwolf.
Oh, boy.
I had so much fun with this book. Definitely check it out if you enjoy, like, goofy, spoopy superhero stuff.
Yep.
Spooperhero, if you will.
Yep.
Punchline One-Shot over at DC.
Okay, I really enjoyed this for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already talked enough on this show about why I like this character, mostly because it's different than Harley and what I expected them to do, which was just, oh, Harley's a popular character, let's just reintroduce another one of her.
Yeah.
Right?
Palette swap.
The other thing that I like is, like, every story we get about her, like, makes her more complicated.
Yes.
I really like that. To the point of you think you know what her motivation is and what's driving her, but you know enough that you know you might be mistaken about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think what remains consistent is if she had one superpower, it would be plausible deniability.
The ultimate politician.
Right?
Yes.
I like the way that this book frames telling her extended backstory. Because it finds a way to do it that, at the same time, gives us, I am sure, the actual beats, but does it in her voice.
Yeah.
And gives it that air of, can you totally trust it?
Well, it's the most interesting way to give this backstory exposition without, like, but organically in what's going on in modern times.
Yeah. And that is via podcast.
Yeah, she has made this episode of, this whole series of podcasts, and
like 92 episodes or something.
Yeah, and one of the characters specifically,
Colin Rowe.
Yeah, Harper Rowe's brother is listening to all of them.
And I mean, kind of in the same vein as why Champions really worked for me. There is something so just, like, timely about the way this is handling, like, cult radicalization.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so much the same kind of recruitment process as the QAnon bullshit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, let's start with a plausible premise, and then we're going to add another layer that's a little less believable, but if you've bought layer A,
it's
layer B sounds
to buy
like
layer
it's
B,
okay.
right.
And then you just keep layering in idea until finally, like, we see the confrontation between Harper and Colin where he says, look, I mean, and these are the things you hear radicalized QAnon members say, like, look, no, this once you have to, I'm not meeting you in the middle, you have to meet me on my side, I'm not having this conversation, you're wrong, she's misunderstood, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's this cult of personality, it's this well of, like, conspiratorial bullshit that leads to just a rejection of what's obviously in front of you, which is, she worked with the Joker to take over the city. Like, Cullen at one point argues, well, but she did these things, but did she really mean to? Did she kill anyone? Well, no, she still did the thing. She still committed all these crimes.
Yeah.
But it's designed to, like, break down the rhetoric of how people talk about the legal process around her to change public perception. It's terrifying, but it's also really, really, really well done.
Yeah. And I like how they pull in other kind of current things. Like, one of the things is, when he's getting started, like, one of the ways he gets pulled into this, right, is he gets online to play video games, right? And he's in what's essentially like a Call of Duty type game, right? And we see the chat log for it. that's going on, and one of the people, DMs him in it and, starts talking about her. And, there's a bunch of just garbage talk in the general chat first, right? Like, oh, can you believe that she sent this out? And like, people making inappropriate comments about her body and, like what would probably happen in a chat, right? And then somebody DMing him saying, yeah, those people are idiots, dude. I can't believe that they're talking about her in such a cringy way and this, that, and the other. And he's like, yeah, and like gets the conversation started with that.
Yeah.
Right. And then starts talking about, well, yeah. Blah, blah. And he's like, well, how do you know this about her? And he's like, well, have you not listened to her podcast? Right. And this is how he gets pulled in.
Yeah. And, like, if you want to get into the actual history of the way that right-wing radical groups have spread through the U.S., it started with Gamergate.
Yeah.
Like, in very tangible ways, Gamergate was the test balloon and where the process for, and it's the exact process that we see here, finding people who are a little bit loner, a little bit outsider, being pushed out of what is already sort of a fringe group.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in 2020, gamers are less a fringe group than they were in 2010, but to some degree. And then trying to, like, build some sort of camaraderie as a way to introduce to, again, what ultimately start as kind of harmless premises.
No, but here's the difference, right? Like, it's always the way that organizations, and cults are certainly, among these organizations, but it's not just cults. It's, most organizations, right? The way they were certainly, when I say I mean these types of organizations, right? Whether they're cults or just, radical political movements or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They've always targeted, outside people, right?
Right.
It's just, it used to be you had to like find them in a school or find them at a coffee shop or, you had to actually find them. Well, online, right, has drastically increased their ability to find these people.
In Soviet Russia, fascist finds you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like all of this is super clear, super easy to find. And what I love is kind of like you said, they interject things that like even reasonable people will agree to, right?
Yeah.
Like there's one point where she talks about, when the Joker made which is, I love this part, when Joker made the Joker fish, right?
Uh-huh.
When he poisoned the food supply of Gotham to create the Joker fish, right? That once the city cleaned that up, right? They captured some of the Joker fish and put them in the Gotham Aquarium, right? As part of a memorial to the people that died during that event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, but by the way, they make Joker fish plushies that they sell in the gift shop, and the government actually owns that license and gets the money for that.
Yeah, when patenting that was the Joker's whole point with that scheme anyway.
Correct. So like you're like, yeah, that's pretty shitty that the city is making money off of this, right?
Yeah.
So like that's something that like, yeah, even reasonable people could agree and identify with that. And once you take one step, it's easier to take the second.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love that there's these reasonable things, but I also love that in addition to, as we go further through episodes of this podcast, right, we as the reader get to physically see her in these get more and more off the deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As she sort of buys into her, or maybe she buys it already, and this is part of a plan. Like that's the piece that's maybe a little ambiguous here, right? Like how much of this is planned, how much of this is premeditated,
right?
How much of it is her covering her own tracks the whole time. And like I think that's I think maybe what makes this kind of so terrifying is just how much, like, the goal of radicalization in this way is to get you to accept the line, the premise, the conspiracy over the truth. And I think the thing that is in the air through her podcast episodes that we read pieces of is like, at what point is the truth for her the Joker is right, and at what point is she sort of buying into this? I think it's a scarier thing if... I don't know if it's a scarier thing if the whole time her end game is getting close to the Joker, or if in real time we're watching her fall down this rabbit hole in earnest.
Yeah. What does become clear, though, is she is an absolute master manipulator.
Oh, absolutely.
And incredibly charismatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Like, the part of the issue where she calls Leslie and thanks her for saying that she was...
competent to stand trial.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, that moment, while maybe not unexpected, is, like, just the most devious part of all of this.
Yeah.
Because it's at that moment where, like, you see how everything in the crowd and her entrance in the full Punchline costume for trial, like, has all come together to sort of give her this underdog celebrity.
Now, looking at what we talked about earlier, and given her charisma and her, like, can you not see her easily gaining political office and rising super far?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I say that not just as someone whose hometown elected a QAnon nut to Congress. Yeah, no, I could easily see that. And I know that one of the threads that Tynan's going to be playing with is sort of the political structure of Gotham.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's some solicitation text that talks about a new mayor.
And then lest we lose it in all of this talk of Punchline and her character, we also get Harper returning as Bluebird.
Yes, which makes me personally very happy.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the 10th member of Krakoa's team? Is it a Bluebird crossover?
Damn it! Now I gotta buy you some.
No. I'll tell you what, wouldn't that be the strangest place to do a Marvel DC crossover?
Yes, it would.
All right, Dark Knight's Death Metal Infinite Hours Exxxtreme One-Shot. It's extreme with 3 X's.
What would anything less suffice for the main man?
Nope. I tend to be a little, maybe just a shade past lukewarm, and okay, there are great uses of Lobo, but by default doesn't always do it for me.
Yes, that is, Lobo is a character that can easily be awful.
Yeah, like, favorite Lobo is still probably that episode of Justice League where Superman is presumed dead, so Lobo decides he will join the Justice League in Superman's place because they need him.
When Lobo is used well, then he can be very effective.
If anything's gonna unseat it, it might be this. This is split before and after Lobo's exchange with Lex Luthor on the moon in Death Metal Guidebook.
Yes.
It starts out with him in a space bar, having gone to collect a bounty, and having ripped off most everyone's arms because no one would tell him where his bounty was. It was literally the first person he killed. He just didn't give them time.
Yeah.
And he is interrupted by whom, Brian?
Well, I love that he literally ripped off people's arms and beat them to death with them.
Yes.
Yes.
Someone's a fan of Magnus Burnside's.
It's Frazetta Batman shows up.
I saw that page in preview, and the moment I did, that page is why this wound up on my this week's books segment last week.
It's literally the Batman who frags with his chain. By the way, so you know how Lobo has his hooks, right? His chain hooks. Batman has his chain hooks, but it's not a hook at the end. It's a batarang.
Yeah. He is a Bruce Wayne who injected himself with Zarnian DNA.
Yes.
And if there is a better sequence of panels than Alfred carrying a tray with a cloche over it to Batman as he does this, and removing the cloche to reveal a bottle of whiskey, I don't know what it is.
Oh, and a bat cigar.
And a bat cigar.
Yes. It's literally a cigar with a bat symbol on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that page with the Batman Who Frags with like Lobo laying on the ground and he's got his big old bat metal spiked boot on him and like it's just really good.
And then we see him have his first conversation with Lex.
Yes.
We see him then, it basically jumps after that to him looking for the death metal. He visits Hawkman on Challenger's Island and finds the death metal, which he, of course, cannot resist using to create his own pocket dimension with an entire Lobo Justice League.
So
and the like
is it
pages.
Is it one universe he creates, or is each of these a separate?
I think because of the fate of the Batman Who Frags, we must assume that it is a single universe.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, I could buy that. But yeah. So we get
Baby Lobo and a Kryptonian rocket flipping off the Kents is...
yeah, so the Kents come and open the rocket, and it's Baby Lobo flipping them off.
Yeah. That is fantastic. The Lobo trying to do wealthy person dialogue for Batman's parents is art, capital A art. We get just like
Prithee, my dear sweetheart, and all that other rich weenie barf.
It's just this series of individual page origin stories for each of these characters. And they're hilarious. I don't know that this is the world's deepest tie-in to death metal, but it's my favorite so far.
The most disturbing has to be Lobo Wonder Woman, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Who, by the way, does love the dolphins.
Yeah, well, I mean, dolphins and babies. These are the reasons Lobo will keep the universe from being destroyed.
Yeah.
Also money. Dolphins, babies, and money. I loved it. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, it's just real good.
All right, is it still good? 7 Secrets, number 4. The present day events of the first issue finally catch up with everyone, and we learn that there may be one more relationship that had not been disclosed so far.
Oop.
There may be more than one. This is a book all about secrets. I think we're going to get a lot of secrets
maybe
as time
7
goes
of them.
on. Yeah, maybe. We only find them when they're dead, number 3. Unless we find them when they're alive. Injustice, Year 0, number 10, Brian.
Yeah, so, this is more of Joker. This is more of Joker controlling Jay and, Superman and Flash trying to stop him. And let's just say, he kind of hit a brick wall.
Superman, number 27, Brian.
Yeah, so Superman is battling, but trying not to battle, oh shoot, now I can't think of his name. Sinmar. Yeah. I'm actually really enjoying this. I read like the last 3, I think, together.
Yeah.
Here. I'm really enjoying this story and how they're lining it up with, Superman trying to not fight him.
I agree.
I feel like he's actually listened to and learned some lessons from Diana recently.
I also am really curious to see how the rest of this series wraps up in an issue, which is all that is left.
Yeah. I also really am curious about the whole Lois Lana storyline that's set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of new ideas for only 1 issue left in this run.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe it all gets tied up in the last Action Comics.
That's certainly
they may all dovetail
possible.
there.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, number 766, Brian.
I'm going to steal Alex's comment, which is Wonder Woman does her best Matt Murdock impression. And stops Count Vertigo, and hey, turns out Max Lord is Max Lord.
Getting it together in number 2. Sam and Lauren try just being friends, and they're bad at it.
Wait,
Strange
getting
Academy.
it together, is this an X book?
It is horny enough to be one.
Okay.
Strange Academy, number 5. everyone realizes that one of the students has been missing for a day and that nobody had noticed. So they go to save him, and then need to send for reinforcements to save them. Taskmaster number 1. Look, if we had not spent so long on X-Men, I would have talked longer about this. This is so good and so funny. Taskmaster has been hired to play in a celebrity golf tournament, and while on the green, someone starts trying to kill him. And at first he's not sure they're trying to kill him, because frankly, anyone on the green could be the target, because they're all terrible people. But it turns out, no, it is him. The would-be assassin continues following him, and he gets a phone call. Brian, would you care to guess what Taskmaster's ringtone is?
No, nothing's coming to mind.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Wow. It does strike me, though, if he's playing in a celebrity golf tournament, couldn't he just watch everybody else swing first and then pick the one that did the best and copy it?
He spent the night watching footage of Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and others.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he gets a mysterious call saying, hey, meet me at this exit if you want to live and want to know why someone's trying to kill you. Gets there, it's Nick Fury Jr., who tells him, yep, you've been framed for the murder of Maria Hill. I know it's not you. And you know that I know it's not you because you'd be dead now if it had been you. And you're going to help me clear your name and find out who did it. Also, that's the Black Widow trying to kill you, so you don't want to take your chances. So this is a Nick Fury Taskmaster team-up book.
Oh, shit.
In order to decrypt Maria Hill's codes, Taskmaster will have to mimic the body language of Phil Coulson, of Okoye, and of a third character who I'm not familiar with who works in Korean intelligence.
Is it White Fox?
The character's name is Amy Han.
Yep, that's
Director of... Okay, cool.
Yep, that's her.
But because this machine requires such accuracy, he will have to observe them in person. So the next issue or issues are Fury and Taskmaster infiltrating each of their organizations in order to study them.
All right, then.
Yep. This week's books. Brian.
Yes, sir.
You have some number ones.
I do.
Barbalian, Red Planet number 1.
Yeah, this is another deep dive into a single character from the Black Hammer universe. This was a little bit interesting. This is obviously it's gonna tell about Barbalian, but it's basically kind of his history in the 80s of dealing with identity issues and, the 80s reaction to homosexuals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the AIDS crisis.
Yep.
Both of my picks this week, because, well, Brian has one on his list that I missed in making mine, and I'm glad he is mentioning. But my 2 picks this week are both last issues. First, the last issue of Kelly Sue DeConnick's Aquaman run is out this week. It has been fantastic so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she ties everything up and leaves things.
Yeah.
Brian, you have Marvel Voices, Indigenous Voices, which I can't believe I almost missed.
Yeah. No, yeah, this is all of the indigenous American creators writing stories about different characters, and it sounds super, super cool.
Yeah, the first Marvel Voices was a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to this too.
Yeah.
And then we also have the last issue of Heist, or How to Steal a Planet, number 8. Which I mention here because I feel like this probably flew under the radar, even though we talked about it some. It's the end of the series, and I definitely think this is worth checking out in trade if you haven't looked it up already. It is literally a plot to steal a planet from a mega corporation that owns it.
All right.
And that will do it for us. We'd like to thank Chase Parker for our intro voiceover. You can visit us at panelologypodcast.com, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/panelology, get merch at bit.ly/panelologymerch, capital P, capital M, or send us questions, comments, or whatever at bit.ly/panelologymailbag, capital P, capital M. I'm Alex.
And I am Brian. Go read comics, because there could be more Ten of Swords this week.